Hello and welcome to New Junction. In this video I'll be discussing my top 5 things to do when modelling in the summer. Number 5 has to be disconnecting your layout. Now, with the increased risk of electrical storms over the summer months, it's always worth not only turning your layout off, but unplugging it as well. So, if there was an electrical surge from outside, you wouldn't blow all your chips, especially on our modern DCC layouts. So that has to be my number 5. With all your engines neatly stored on the layout, which is not uncommon, by unplugging it, you save the risk of blowing any of the chips, and therefore saving yourself a lot of cost and heartache should the worst happen. So rather than take all the engines off the layout, or isolating your layout, just disconnect it. Nice and simple. In the number 4 slot, it's got to be lubrication. Now, you can get various types of lubricants. I use a Gauge Master lubrication pen. So what I'll be doing is I'll be going over all my locos and rolling stock. This is particularly useful if you're not going to use your engines over summer, but them being sat in the baking heat of our lofts and closed sheds, etc., it's just a good thing to do to stop them drying out and seizing up on you. When you buy a new loco, you normally get instructions in the box as to where to lubricate them. On this instance, it's going to be things like the wheel axles and the obvious moving parts. This is particularly important, especially if you're not going to use your layout for the next few months because it's too hot. Number 3 on the list is to remove any card buildings that aren't stuck down. As you can see by the poor state of the roof of this petrol station shop, I've fallen foul of the temperature, and because I've not moved it, it's now swollen and disshaped. So might come back. I might be able to stretch it out a bit when it cools down again, but this building's definitely going downstairs now. Jumping into number 2 position is leaving gaps in the rails when you lay your track. Now, this was very nearly number 1 for me. You'd be surprised how much rails expand when it gets hot. So always leave a gap, otherwise the worst can happen, particularly when you're ballasted. This is just an example. On my new section, before it's been ballasted, I've obviously not left enough of a gap. And what's happened is the rails have pushed against each other. This is a full yard piece, and it's just bumped out of position, so the whole thing is just pushed out. It's meant to be following the cork. So you can imagine if that was ballasted, that would either the sleepers would get stuck in the ballast and the rails would rip off, which I've seen, or the whole thing would just pull the ballast off and ruin your hard work. So you can see how important leaving gaps are. Not to mention they sound nice with the clickety-clack. In the number 1 slot, it has to be looking after yourself. You'd be very surprised how actually hot it gets in your loft spaces or your insulated sheds. On a nice day where it's the mid-20s outside, it can easily top the 30s in a well-insulated loft space. So you've got to keep cool and you've got to keep hydrated. For a lot of us, we're climbing up ladders and things. You can spend hours in a hot room and it's just ever so slightly dangerous. So much so on the hottest days, I'd be tempted to say, nip out in the garden with a G&T. Look after yourself. Modelling can be done any time of the year, apart from summer. Just in the time it's taken me to film this video, to say I'm melting is an understatement, even with the fan on. So I'm now going to edit this downstairs in the cool. Hopefully it's been useful to someone, but as ever, take it easy, enjoy the summer, happy modelling, and I'll see you later. Take care, guys. Bye.